Hello everybody, I'm Michael Richter from W Properties, and in this video I want to talk to you guys about risk. Yes, there's always going to be risk out there. There's risk in what I do, and there's risk in almost everything we do, and guess what? There's also risk in what we don't do and what we decide, decisions we decide not to make. So just a disclaimer again, you know what, before you start jumping into real estate and doing all this crazy stuff, talk to your lawyer, talk to your accountant, talk to local real estate agents, people with specific designations. I'm just giving you merely my opinions and things that I've done and what I've practiced in the past, okay? So I want to talk about some different types of risk, and you know what, when it comes to this, there's all kinds of different definitions of risk. And I mean, you talk to anybody, they're always going to be pulling up different things. There's many different ways they could go down right now, but I just want to try to keep this concise and focused on a few different points right now when we do this. So when we talk about risk, I mean, there's just when it comes to real estate risk specifically, I mean, there's risk, to the economy. There's risk to the area you might purchase a property in. There's risk to the property itself. And there's risk, I mean, of the specific tenants that are in your property that are taking care of it, or supposed to be taking care of it, that might not be taking care of it, right? Or not be paying you, or might be doing something even worse to your property, right? So, and there's also things that you can control. There's types of risks that you have somewhat control over. I mean, I can have a lot more control over maybe the tenant profile that comes into my property and the type of property that I buy. And then there's risk, I mean, that's just out of my reach. I mean, if the president or if the prime minister makes a new ruling or decision that comes down and it changes something in the economy, or something with interest rates changes, or a new law gets passed, a bylaw gets passed, I don't have any control over that. I can only try to be prepared and mitigate that, right? But one of the big risks too is also the investor, and this is what I want to talk about in this video. There's a lot of risk, I think, from what I've seen personally, in the investor, him or herself, okay? So for example, if you don't have a very clear vision on what it is that you want to achieve and what it is that you want to do, and if you don't have a clear exit strategy and a plan in case it all goes downhill, you're exposing yourself up to a certain level of risk too, and also your experience level, how experienced you are, who you have in your corner. I mean, I don't know everything. I don't have all the answers to what I do, and I don't intend to. But that doesn't mean I can't find them. With the network I have, with the individuals I have surrounding me, with the education clubs I'm a part of, the networking groups I'm a part of, the lawyers, I mean, the real estate agents, the brokers, the people that I have on my team, the advisors, people that I can go to for answers, I can always find an answer. And if I don't have an answer, I'll make sure that I have somebody who has that answer, or I'll make sure I get connections to somebody who has that answer. So you don't have to have all the answers, but you do have to have a very good knowledge about how a lot of different things work. So there is a lot of risk in the investor in that sense. For example, okay, if you don't have clear intentions of what you're going to do, and you're letting your emotions drive you up and down and everything else, and you're taking advice from your, Uncle Phil, or, the neighbor or the guy at work who always says, well, the market's going to crash, what if, that's not necessarily a good way to get information, okay? And you really have to have an idea of what you're going to do, because if the market crashes, for an example, well, what are you going to do? A lot of people say, well, if it really crashes and it goes down to a certain point, well, I'm going to sell. Well, that's taking on quite a big risk right there, because if you're selling at the bottom of that market and you're letting your emotions drive you, well, you're in trouble. I let my emotions drive me to do real estate because they got me into it in the first place. But I drive with my logic. I mean, I make my decisions based on logic and based on my plan and what outcome I desire. My emotions just drive me, but I keep them in the back room. I don't make emotional decisions to when I buy and when I sell. That's based on logic. That's based on facts, okay? So saying that, there's a lot of risk in the investor too. Also, if you're buying at the top of the market just because everybody else is buying, and you're just buying at a pure, lust and excitement to make a lot of money, that's not always the best decision either. You really have to look at your numbers and know the relationships between the different numbers, and you have to analyze a lot of deals to understand what you can afford to buy. There's always going to be deals out there at the top of the market and at the bottom of the market. You just really have to understand what it is that you're buying and what you're intending to do and what your intentions are, and what your overall outcome is and what your plan is. So if you could be really, really clear in what you're doing and really focused also at the same time, you're also mitigating risk in that sense, okay? Because you're not just reacting, you're being proactive, okay? Another risk that I mean, for my own personal example, when I got started, there was a much higher level of risk on myself back then versus where I am now from what I've learned. I did take on more risk because when we started, I really didn't have the people in my corner that I had now. I didn't really understand what I was doing. I kind of just jumped into it. All I really understood is that, you know, there's a rent that comes in, there's a mortgage that has to get paid, and there's property taxes and insurance, and that's really all I understood. And that's why it was so hard to get my wife on board, because I couldn't really present this to her properly. And you know what? We didn't really understand what we were getting into. The difference is that we took action, okay? And I mean, that could be, you know, looked at as a plus or minus. You know, I could have gotten into analysis paralysis and I could have waited longer. I probably could have gotten more information, but I took action, okay? And that's, you know, I learned a lot from doing that. But I did take on a level of risk in the beginning, but I'm here now, okay? And everything did work out. But looking back, I would have done things a little bit differently, and moving into a different strategy, which we are now, I'm doing everything differently. I'm looking at what I did in the past, and I'm saying, okay, how am I going to mitigate this from what I've learned to mitigate risk even further? Not eliminate it, you can't eliminate it, but how am I going to do it? By using A players on my team, people that have already done the strategy that we're doing next, to help lead me and help guide me, so that when I get in, if I have questions, when I do have questions, I've got some awesome people in my corner that have already done this, including the people on my power team, okay? You don't have to do this alone, okay? Don't think that you have to do everything alone, because doing everything alone, then again, it's going to enhance risk again. So involve people on your team that have been there, that have done that before. Reach out to them. You know, they will help you for maybe the right price or the right barter exchange, but people will help you, okay? And I just wanted to say, you know what, I appreciate the emails I've been getting with the questions and the comments. Reach out to me, leave a comment on here on YouTube, but hit the like button. My email address, if you want to reach out to me, is eeproperties@gmail.com, and also follow me on Instagram. Just search EE Properties and get engaged that way too. It's a great community, and I look forward to connecting with you guys. And let me know what you want me to talk about. I'd be happy to talk about whatever you like. Take care.